a new Rasmussen poll, in fact, because the people get it. Much of the media doesn't get it. They actually get it, but they don't write it. Let's put it that way. But a new Rasmussen poll just came out just a very short while ago, and it has our approval rating at 55% and going up.
Now, immediately after the president was touting this Rasmussen poll, a lot of folks were saying, yeah, but all the other polls have you way down, and you're still pathetic, and we still think you're a loser, and we don't even know why you're breathing. They didn't say that, but they came very close, more or less dismissing a poll that's been largely accurate, but people still have their own sort of biases and this sort of thing, good and bad. To Rasmussen Reports political analyst Amy Holmes on why theirs is not in sync with the others. It's not all by a wild amount, but it does show more than half of Americans liking what he's doing, and no other survey shows that, so that's why the media was pouncing on that, Amy. How do you explain that? Amy Holmes is political analyst with Rasmussen. Explain it all.
Explain it all. Thanks for having me, Neil. You know, I'll explain it sort of as the congressman was saying, making pizza. I'm going to show you how we make a little polling pizza here. Rasmussen Reports, we ask likely voters. Some of those other polls, they ask all adults. Now, we make the argument that by asking likely voters, you get a better gauge of the electorate, the people who are actually going to go to the polls, pull the levers for our representatives on the Hill and of course, at 1600 Pennsylvania, and put the pressure on those politicians when it comes to politics. Now, we also poll on non-political issues like sports or you name it, and we ask all adults, and so that's a little bit different approach. But because we're polling about politics, we poll people who are politically engaged.
So none of the others ask likely voters?
We have our certain sort of, secret sauce of how we get to those likely voters. There are a series of questions, which means we also make a lot more phone calls than other polling firms, which is a little bit more expensive. But again, it gets to those people, our fellow citizens who are likely voters, who are more politically engaged, and it gets you closer to how elections and policies might actually turn out. Because after all, Neil, our elected officials, they're not pandering to people who don't go to the polls. They're trying to legislate and talk to people who do, so we do as well.
You know what's interesting about that, and I was predicting this yesterday, and sure enough, I saw it in the press today. They referred to you guys as outliers, that most people are saying that this president's starting off the worst of any other elected, and they always tend to focus on the polling with the least favorable ratings, even knowing that there are a few others there that have slightly higher, and then, of course, there's yours. But that becomes the default, the lowest rated poll.
Right.
And so that does feed a narrative that a lot of people have, that the media is out to get this president. Now, this president seizes on that and maybe goes too far, but what do you make of this? And that press conference, it revealed for all that acrimonious relationship is alive and well.
Oh, absolutely. Yesterday, that was a blockbuster of a press conference, and the only hysteria that I saw, Neil, was from the mainstream media and their reaction to President Trump, pretending as if there's some sort of, priestly caste that is giving the divine truth, and how dare President Trump challenge them. Well, again, at Rasmussen Reports, our polling data is likely voters. That gives you a different number, but also we were actually closer than other pollsters when it came to the 2016 election.
You were.
We were the ones that predicted that Scott Brown would win that surprise election in Massachusetts in 2010. And this may interest your viewers. We were also the ones who were sort of leading on the question of legalizing marijuana. And we found in 2012 that there was a majority of likely voters who favored legalizing marijuana. And of course, you're seeing that sort of that movement across the country. Yeah. So I think the media, as you say, they like polling that fits their narrative. Of course, the president, he likes polling that fits his. We like polling that's real and that works and that tells you where, again, your politically engaged fellow citizens, how they're feeling, how they're leaning, how they're thinking.
You link that with a nation that's high as a kite on pot, so I admire that.
And pizza.
And pizza. And, yeah, I'm so hungry now. All right, Amy, thank you very much. Amy Holmes of Rasmussen.